Hello, this is Philip Steiger at thebest3d.com, and here with another look at some of the techniques that we can use in abrMate, the ABR tool, viewer and converter from TextureMate. So the basic idea is, in this tutorial we will focus on some of the tools that we can use to combine the images into a series of images in a single brush. And what I mean is that when you usually have a brush set like this, you have a series of different images, but they are not together in the same brush. You have one brush for this one, another brush for this one, and that sort of things. What we can do is put them together into a single brush so that we can then loosely paint them all over. And sometimes that might be really interesting because you may have different shots, different images of about the same type of object, but from different angles, different views, different sizes, different orientations. And putting them all into a brush will give you additional capabilities. For instance, if they represent birds that are seen flying up in the air, but from different angles. And that's what we saw in Ron Devine's birds. There are a couple of images of that type. Now there are some caveats, and that's the case quite often. We have these images in different sizes. And so if they are the same size, we can load them in as an image sequence directly into Dogwaffle. But if they are of different sizes, we just manually gather them into a cumulative brush, and we just gradually make sure the images are all there. So let me start by going to TextureMate, texturemate.com, where Bill Scott has a huge collection of beautiful patterns and textures, texture packs even, and also brushes, and of course the tool abrMate that we will use. So by now I hope you have downloaded this free tool. It's a freeware Windows application that Bill wrote to convert the image, to view the images, but also to convert them into PNG files. So you can use them in GIMP, you can use them in other programs, some of which may not have support for ABR brush sets files directly. And in fact, Dogwaffle is in that situation right now. That may change over time, but for now we will use abrMate to look at and extract these images into PNG files with transparencies, and then we can use them as PNG images loaded into brushes, or even just as a basic image to start another composition. So if you look under the free tools down here under free resources, there are some brushes, and some of these brushes are really fascinating. Actually all of them are. But I'm going to look at you know what, I was going to look at the tree branches, but I just saw the hearts here, so for the love of this I'm going to go into the hearts. I'm going to download this and then we'll see how to use those. So follow me, and I'll just simply save them and go to the install folder or the download folder, and then extract that and start working with those. So here I am. I've copied the downloaded zip file into my TextureMate collection. I'm going to unzip that, extract all, and what we have most of the time, what you'll see is some sort of an image that represents the sort of a spreadsheet, not a spreadsheet, a sprite sheet, contains a collection of the various brushes or images that are in there, and then of course the ABR file. And so this one we can open in a couple of ways. If you look at open with, you'll probably see, if you have Photoshop, you'll see that listed there. I do have Dogwaffle here, but it's not currently able to handle that directly. And you could also choose another program. I did that for abrMate, and I'm not sure if abrMate will actually launch and open it, but it certainly will launch. And well, I actually had it running already from a little bit earlier, and it still has this brush set here with the trees and branches. So what I'll do is I'll open another brush set, going into those hearts. There they are. and open this one. So now we have a few more. And so the idea is, can we export those and then have them all in PNG files and then load them in into an animator brush where we have a sequence of images like these. So the thing we can do is perhaps select these with click shift or shift click and export the selected brush to PNG. And it will probably keep the same folder. Yep, there it is. And actually, I don't know if that will go over the entire sequence. Oh, yep, it will do that. No, that's just one file. So I can do that one by one. Right click here, export to PNG, same thing again. If you have a whole sequence, I think you could do a little bit faster here. Export selected brush to PNG, or export all open brushes to PNG. So if you select one brush like this one with the 3 branches, that will allow you to select that and export that. I'm going to go with the heart and export selected brush to PNG. And that actually maybe it recognizes it already did it. So let's see, maybe I need to do this. Selected brush. Yeah, there you go. Let's go with that. Okay, that one is going to be an overwrite. Again, it seems like it's only taking the one image. So I'm going to go and export all. And that will be in this folder for the for the brushes. Now you see it work on all of the images. So it's exporting all of these images, all of these brushes into PNG images. And there we are. So now we have the 3 branches from one brush, we have the hearts from the other brush. Now let's rest this and see the tooltip tell us how much, what the dimensions are. This one's 794 in width, this one's 702. So immediately we see that they are not the same dimensions. And so 637. So that means we cannot easily import them as an image sequence, because when we load an image sequence, I believe we are better off if they are all the same dimensions. Right? I mean, we could give it a try and see it miserably fail. Let's go to, just to understand how to do that in the future. If we do have the images at the same at the right dimension, we could go and load sequence and go to the folder where we have that sequence. I believe that will be here under my documents, and further down into Photoshop, brushes, abrMate, and hearts in there. And so here I can select my PNG files, and let's say I want the hearts from here to here. Right, all of these are my heart images. Load those, and well, it seems like it did something. Maybe that actually works a little bit better than I thought. The problem though is it's all black. Now that's actually not a problem. That is predictable and intentional. The reason why it's all black is that the image really is only a small amount of a black image, a grayscale image most of the time. And it is in the transparency in the alpha channel that that information is actually contained. So since we're not going to load, we're loading just the RGB values, we're not going to see the transparency the way we need it. And so even though this did actually load, we could enable the alpha from the last image. That last import, actually I believe it did not take the alpha, period. So yeah, as expected, that is not going to be the way to do it. And so I'm going to free this and instead show you the right way to do it, which is through the brush interface. So in the brush, what we can do, we can go and open a PNG file. So I'm going to go to Documents, abrMate, there it is, and find my hearts right there. Alright, so here are the hearts images. Let me select the first one. Right, open that, and it's loaded. Now again, we don't see a whole lot of really interesting shapes here, but the thing is, it's not in the RGB value. If I store this, I just see the RGB value here. It's all black. The alpha also got saved with it. I can actually store that separately under the selection and store alpha to see it. Oh, nothing there. That's interesting. Let's do a select on off. Nothing there. Alright, oh, silly me, I did not load it into the image, I loaded it into the brush. Okay, caught me there. Seems like I need another sip of my coffee here. Hold on a second. Alright, so where is this? I didn't load it into the image, I loaded it into the brush. So we can go to the brush menu and store it there. Aha, there it is. And indeed, we see the plaid pattern somewhat through the heart as well. So the transparency is not just on or off everything, it's actually progressive. It has an 8-bit value that can go from fully transparent, as in outside of the heart, to perhaps some parts that are almost or completely opaque. And what we can do is a couple of things with this brush. We could save it as an image, and now we have it as an image, and in doing so we can now restore this image. And when we do also restore the alpha, to replace alpha, there we go, and now we have the alpha channel back in there. Now it looks a bit odd, and that's because what we see here is not the outline of where it's a complete transparency. What the alpha channel marching ants show you is where the middle line is, the 50% transition from fully transparent to perhaps going into fully opaque. But there's no guarantee that it's going to be fully opaque. It could stop at 50 or 60%, and that's probably what it does here. So don't expect this shape that you see here to necessarily represent the image you see on the coloring side. Right, so but it is definitely usable as a brush image. Let's go and paint with that a little bit. Let me clear the alpha. Let me in fact create a new image, slightly different dimensions. Let's do something like this, and preview the brush. There it is. And if I click it, you see it once, then click it again, and you see it accumulates the transparency. You can paint with it. You can paint with the right button to use the alternate color. You can change the size of the brush. That's why we store it and manage it here, so we can easily adjust the dimensions of it, and also the opacity. Right, if we want the opacity to go full to the fullest extent possible, that's what we do here. So we have a basic idea of how to load the brush, right? We can import it through the brush import. We could also do that here from the file. We could go and open the same, or maybe let's take a different one like this one here. Open this, and it will take the alpha channel with it. Now it may not show it. The marching ants may be disabled after the import. Just go and enable it here from the selection menu, alpha on off. Now you see that alpha channel again, and actually a different one. It's a different heart. And what you could do at this point is simply pick this up as a custom brush again, right? So you can use the selected as the brush, or you can pick the whole thing if you're not quite sure if you want to trim it to just the outline. So if you pick the whole thing like this, it will pick it up as a custom brush. You can go to the store and manage from the brush, and you now have a second brush here. There's a first one we loaded differently, and then here's a second one. So again, you can now paint with this one. Let's go and erase and paint with this one, paint with that one. Oops, that one still has the selection mask there. So anyway, we can use that to build up a series of different brushes. And what I'll do is, the next thing is to combine them into a single brush that has all of these combined together. So let's do that a few more times. Let's go get a brush, open. We have these first two already. Let's get this one and store it there. And in fact, we can minimize those as well, just so they are not taking too much pixel real estate on your screen, and you still get a nice little preview, and you can easily use them that way. Right, click this, use paint that, click this, paint with this, click this, paint with that one. That one needs to be restored to its original size. So let's go reset at full size. There you go. So we have these. Let's get a few more. Let's say we want 5. 5 is a great number. We have 5 fingers on our hands. I think there's a natural way for the number 5. The golden rule, the golden number. Let's go and open one more. 2 more actually. Where's my math skills here? Let's get this one, let's skip one and get this one in there and store this one as well and minimize it. Alright, where's number 5? Cinco por favor. Let's get this one here, open. And this time let's get one with a little bit of a 3D look. Well, they all have to some extent. This one has a nice edge around it. Let's get that one. Alright, and so now we have a number of images that loaded separately from, oops, wait, that's the wrong thing. I want to store it now. There. And minimize it. So we have now 5 images that came from that ABR brush set and were saved into PNG. Thank you, Bill Scott, for that abrMate tool. And now with that, I was able to import those PNG files and I can use them to paint. And that's perhaps really what you want to do with them, right? You may want to simply create your artwork with those images now. And let's say, for instance, we use something like this size, and you're going to composite these hearts in different ways. So that's one thing you can certainly do at this point in terms of painting them. You can also switch the setting on the brush for the custom brush to perhaps operate in a matte mode, so that the color is actually taken from your primary or secondary colors, and left button and right button, so you could paint with these as well. Here's another. As you pick it, it resets it to the color brush style, so it actually uses the color from the brush that it has stored, but you can change that back to the matte mode. And there's of course tons of things you can do with that, such as, for instance, just following the mouse angle, the mouse path to change the angle. You enable the transform, click here, and then allow following the direction of the pointer in order to change the direction orientation of the brush. Let me show you that. So you see how it's changing the angle here now. I'm gonna go erase this to white and set the opacity. It's already at full opacity, and maybe I'm going to use this one, and there you go. So you can see how there's a lot of things you can do now at this point. For instance, drawing rectangles that are hollow rectangles, and it's laying out that that brush along it. So for instance, if you set the size a little bit smaller, change the color to something like this, you now have, and we need to go to matte mode. There you go. Now we have the hearts going along there. Maybe we want the steps a little bit bigger, so there's more space between them. There you go, and you get the hearts showing all along it. Something like this, right? So this is where the fun really will start. Now we can get really creative with that and create all sorts of displays with that. Turn that into an elevation map, for instance, right? Where is it? Transform 3D Designer, and use the image for the coloring, but also for the elevation. You see the extrusion there, and as usual for terrain, perhaps change. I don't know, the lighting, add some ray traced shadows, have the light source go low, get it from a different angle so you get a long shadow cast, get this one up higher, bright as well, add some erosion to that, right? So, you know, a lot of different things you can do to turn this into yet a different type of art. But what we want to do now is actually not paint with just one brush, with one image, but put them all together into a single brush. So what we'll do is create a brush. Let's say we start with the first one, pick this one, and then go into storing that one. So brush, store, and manage copy. So what's different about this one compared to the other 5 is that we will be adding more images, more brushes to it. So you can do that right here under the stored copy. The way you look at it is, right now you have just one image you see, but there's actually a whole image sequence or a placeholder for images waiting to be filled in, and we call that the film strip. You see right here, show film strip. Click on that and it will show you the first image in that film strip, and if there were more images you could scroll down here. One thing you can do is you can grab the bottom of this window and look how much more you can fit in there. So that's where we will be adding those additional brushes. And the first thing we'll do, we have the first image already. Now we'll select this one and add it to this simply by clicking add frame. Now we have this second one added. Then we'll go to the next one, add frame. Third one is in. Now sometimes you'll see these guys change size because it needs to adjust this one in. This one may be bigger. The dimensions are different for these images and not all the same, and so it will make changes to the relative size appearance of some of the others that are already loaded. Now I'm going to grab this one, add one more, and the last one right here, and add it. So now we have a film strip showing 5 images in sequence, and this is what we call an anim brush or animated brush, and we can paint with that just the same. Now, one thing I would certainly recommend we do, if I hide the film strip, we still remember that this one is a sequence of images. We call that an animated brush, and what we want to do is not lose it. So I'm going to go to the browse media, and in the browse media I can look at my skies, my trees, my mountains. I need hearts. How about my shapes? I'm going to create a category here, and I'm going to call it my shapes and stuff, whatever name you want to give it, and then here is 5 hearts. Okay, so this brush is one that's made of not just one heart, but multiple hearts, and as you paint with it, it's cycling through those. Let me erase this and change the color, set it into matte mode, and paint with it. Now it's not so easy to see that it's cycling through that. Maybe we need a little bit more contrast or a little bit higher. Let's erase to white. A bigger step distance here might be useful, so we can see. Yep, there it is. Now we can see that it's cycling through these hearts. It's not always the same, and it's going through them one by one. Now every time that you draw, let me set the erase color to white here. Every time that you draw, it starts with the first one, and perhaps you don't want it to change the rotation based on the path, so let's uncheck that, and now it always has the same orientation. But you may want to add other types of transforms, such as random rotation or perhaps random position, so it's not exactly along the path. Right now it's following that path pretty nicely. You may want to change random position there, add some random size, and do other varieties that way, including even random hue. So they actually get different colors, different hue, different saturation, some of them more saturated than others. And look at all the things we're doing now. That's very different from what the original brush had. Right? We had 5 separate brushes, and now we're doing very different things with that. And so that's where the fun really is starting, and we can use that, for instance, with the linear tool to draw a line from here to here, but it's not a very strict straight line, right? So you can do all sorts of different things with that. Here's another way to use it with the curve tool. With the curve tool you will give a path. Let me erase the other image. There you go, there's a path, and now you can say let's go render the brush along that path, and it's using the current settings that we have for the brush. That could be including things like all the random size, position, random hue, random saturation, and that sort of things. Now in this case it kept the size the same. One of the nice things that we have with this tool, we can, instead of stroking the brush along the path, we can actually paint the brush, which we use is a little bit different in the sense that we also simulate the pressure, like as if we were using a tablet. Even though I'm not using a tablet right now, I want it to be small initially and then get to the full size and then vanish again later on. So now you see how the size is changing, except for that very first one. But you see that that can create some really interesting effects as well. So how do we use this to finish off here, this heart brush across the curve tool? That's really up to you. There's this, one thing that's tempting is to draw another heart here, and not exactly a Picasso quality here, But at that point, if I want, I can simply, let's go reposition some of these points. I can now, okay, do this. Okay, here's my basic shape for the heart, and then I can render the brush along that path. You can also do animations with that, lots of other things to explore. Alright, hopefully this will give you some good ideas of how to take those ABR brush sets further and have fun painting.